Okay, I think we are live. Welcome to our first community update session. My name is Jakub, and I'm here joined by Patrick, CTO at Sailor, and Michał, Principal Front-End Engineer. Welcome, everyone. We have so far 3 people in the audience. And the idea for this events is to have, first of all, to have them be monthly. So each 2 weeks, we would like to share with you some updates about what we are doing at Sailor. And we would like to discuss what changed and then be here to maybe respond to your questions. What do you think, guys? Have I summarized it correctly?
Yes, sounds amazing. And we'll be doing these sessions on Discord because we are also recording this for YouTube. So we're inviting everyone to join our Discord server. And you will find the link in the description below the recording.
Yes, on Discord, we want those to be more interactive. So if you're able to join us, if not today, then in the future, you will be able to ask questions that we will try to answer almost in real time. But since this is the first event and we don't have a lot of audience, I think a lot of you will be watching this on YouTube instead. But thank you to everyone who came. As Jakub said, this is the first of a series. So we promise to actually not stop after this single instance.
The idea is to show our faces, maybe to show what we are working on, and be ready here for you, for your questions, as Patrick said. So it's easier to work with Sailor, and you can always count on additional help. So maybe let's get started with the first updates. So recently we have released 2 minor versions of Sailor, 3.13 and 3.14. So maybe we could go through like major things that were included in each version. So maybe, Michał, we would start with you regarding 3.13, because I think you contributed significantly to that version.
It wasn't that significant, come on. However, there is an amazing blog post that I wrote about all the changes. So I invite everyone to read it. But obviously, let's just go through the headlines or the most important changes in the 3.13 release. And I believe the most important change in 3.13 was the release of transactions. It's a new preview API, a set of new preview APIs, mutations and subscriptions that everyone can use to benefit from subscriptions and to create something that we call payment apps. So
maybe before we go,
I'd like to pause here and talk about discuss the payment apps a little bit. How does it sound to you guys?
I wanted to ask you about transaction first, because we are talking transactions, but maybe the concept is maybe not clear enough. Maybe we could describe what are transactions, where we use them, and the recent improvement. What was it about? How it improved the transactions compared to the previous versions?
Yeah, so it's a fair question. So transactions, I mean financial transactions related usually to paying for stuff that you buy. And in the past we had these payment plugins that were responsible for handling payments, but we aim to deprecate the plugins as soon as we reach feature parity with payment apps. And transactions APIs are much more flexible and much more powerful than the payment plugins used to be. So first of all, when you create let's imagine a scenario where you create an order, then you have you try to pay for it a few times, but it fails, and then you finally the payment is successful, but then for some reason you want to get a refund and you get refunded. So now with transactions, all those events are written in step by step in a history
recorded
below the order. Yes. So transactions API allow you to record different kinds of events and then assign them, connect them to the order or checkout, and have a like a history of what was happening to give an order.
So I was wondering if I may
Yeah.
interrupt, but Patrice, have this feature been already used for clients, Sailor's clients currently? Did it help debugging certain scenarios or?
Yes. So one of in terms of enablement, the biggest feature to me related to transactions is that since those are no longer plugins, they can be used by applications. This is an application-centric API. So it means our customers, our integrators, our partners, they can build the payment apps like in-house. They don't rely on Sailor providing all of the integrations for all possible payment gateways, which we know is just plain impossible. No matter the scale of the company, we cannot cover every single use case, every single continent, culture. A lot of those payment gateways are highly localized and only exist within a single country or even within a single region. So yes, we already have customers building their own payment applications. We have a template application that can be used as a starter kit, and we're also about to open source the integration for Stripe, and we believe those will help others get their feet wet when it comes to payment integration. But also we have customers who choose this API over the previous payment API that was there for years. Because it allows partial payments or combined payments to be implemented, which is another major feature that was not possible before. Like previously, a single payment corresponded to a single order. Now you can not only have multiple payments for a single order, you can also decide the order of creating order and taking payment. You can where previously you had to pay for a checkout to create an order, now you can create a payment for checkout, then convert it to an order, or you can create an order first, which would be an unpaid order, and then decide to collect money later on, which is also important for several flows like cash on delivery, and it also allows completely unheard of previously flows where you can collect some money up front, then create an order, and then maybe collect the rest.
This is a great example of flexibility of Sailor, I think. Is there anything more there, Michał, in the 3.13?
Yes, it's still about the transactions. They are also useful because they also provide a context for every given transaction event has some sort of context. So if there was an error, you get the error message. If the transaction is successful, you get some kind of URL if the payment provider allows, or an ID that you can use to refer to given payment. And we display it all in Sailor dashboard, so now you can easily just open the list of events under order or checkout and see, for example, a payment that was successful. You see the something that we call PSP reference, so it's the ID of the payment, and usually you can click on it and go directly to the payment provider dashboard to that payment. And I think it's amazing. It enables a whole range of new flows that were, I think, quite common request among our customers.
Can you give an example of that so it's more concrete for our viewers? Where
yes,
this could be used?
Obviously, yeah. There are certain actions that you just cannot do with Sailor, and you need to go to the payment provider dashboard directly, like verify the stage of the payment in the bank, for example, or something like that. Sometimes we don't get enough information from the payment provider, but the payment provider has the information available in the dashboard. So it's a common scenario that people want to search for given payment in the dashboard of the payment provider.
Yeah, well, to add to that, we also handle a lot more events from the payment gateways now than we did in the previous flow. So things like dispute chargebacks, those are also handled and surfaced to to the stuff users within Sailor dashboard. So you can
So it
actually,
means-
you cannot yet handle all of those within the dashboard, but you will be notified that there was, for example, a dispute opened, and you can use the link to follow back to the payment gateway.
react to that.
And then, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we've added a new kind of event specifically for that to add more context. So we can now create transaction events that are just supposed to give you more information about what was happening. They are not related to transferring money or payments per se, but they can provide additional context to the order and to the set of events that were happening.
So
Yeah,
another...
and if I may also add something else on top of that, since we now technically allow multiple payments to be collected for an order, we've also revamped how refunds work to to make it work for multiple payments. So another exciting change that came along with the transactions API is the granting versus executing refunds. So you can grant a refund of $50 and execute it as two separate transactions because the order was originally paid using a combination of a gift card and a credit card, for example. So that's also a flow that was not possible before, but becomes more streamlined and easy to implement with the new API.
So another update.
And apart from that, we also support and something that was I think long requested. That is, we allow now to authorize payments first and then to charge them either automatically or manually from Sailor dashboard. You can create a new kind of event, which is just the authorization, and we'll try to ask the payment provider to authorize and not charge the amount. And then you can go to the order, click on under the transaction event, you'll have available actions that you can take on given authorization. You can either cancel it or you can charge it, and you can trigger it directly from Sailor dashboard.
And what would be a use case scenario for that? Or how people could...
Pre-orders, for example, where companies sometimes want to authorize the amount, then prepare the product, and only when it's ready, they charge it. They charge you. So that's just one of the scenarios.
Yeah, another scenario is perishable goods like groceries, where the typical flow is to authorize 10% over what you think the order may be ending up costing, and then only charging once you've actually packaged the order and you know how much everything weighs, if any products were missing, and if any products needed to be replaced.
So let's maybe move forward. Another change is the bulk updates. It was also a big, maybe not big issue, but a problem that the updates couldn't happen in mass manner. You couldn't do it in the bulk.
It actually is a big issue for many enterprise customers who may have an ERP backend that they need to synchronize to, or a warehouse system that's dedicated to fulfillment that keeps track of stock that may not be reserved for online sales alone. So you may need to have real-time updates as the stock changes, as stock arrives at the warehouse, or when it's distributed to your brick and mortar stores, for example. You need to keep it in sync with the online platform. And without the bulk APIs, it was quite cumbersome to do it. It required a lot of individual calls, which was not just slow, but it was difficult to also do stuff like error handling, because it's much easier to submit a bunch of data and then know whether it went through or not, versus submitting 1 million separate transactions and risking some of them not going through. So with the... Yeah, so now we have a bulk API for both products and variants, and it's not limited to stock, it's not limited to pricing. You can update all product information, including attributes, descriptions, names. But I think most customers are actually interested in synchronizing the stuff that changes, that's likely to change in real time, which is pricing information and availability.
Yeah,
Great.
if I may add to that, the set of new mutations that you've mentioned, it also allows us to extend Sailor dashboard with the data grid mass editing, for example. It was also a step to the data grid improvements.
So
Yeah, that's also about managing expectations, because if you edit a data grid, you also expect it to be an atomic transaction, like in terms of submitting and saving data. You expect it to all go through or all fail, not have a partial success, because we update each individual cell separately. So it's also a great improvement to the user experience in the dashboard.
So there's another update still in 3.13, which is Adyen app, right, Michał?
Yeah. Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, we've built the very first payment app, and it's released to our App Store, available to enterprise customers. And it's integration with Adyen as a payment provider. It allows to communicate with Adyen using a set of very simple GraphQL mutations through Sailor. And I think it's all payment apps basically boil down to a set of 3 mutations that you can use. And when you use them, depending on what you send and what the payment provider responds, we automatically update the amounts, values in given order. So when we get the notification that you was successfully charged, for example, we update all the recalculate or the amount, so we didn't have to do it manually sort of anymore. And the mutations that I'm talking about are payment gateway initialize, transaction initialize, and transaction process. So just 3 mutations. It actually only takes 1 mutation to do the simplest payment flow. But in case of Adyen, we implemented all 3. We support Apple Pay, we support mobile apps, we support wide range of the different payment providers inside of Adyen, such as Klarna or ClearPay or whatnot. So yeah, I'm happy to announce that it's officially released.
And it's also officially endorsed by Adyen. We're partnering with Adyen to maintain this application as an official integration. But it won't be open source, unfortunately. We think this is strictly serving enterprise customers. Mm-hmm. So we hope you understand, as a company, we also need to provide some incentive for the biggest customers to actually pay back to the company that's building and maintaining Sailor.
I think there are maybe some questions from people watching this. Are there plans for other alternatives to Adyen in the near future?
Yes, actually. Yes, we are actively roadmap. Yeah, we are actively working on implementing Stripe integration, mm-hmm. which I believe is the most requested by the community payment integration, and the progress is pretty advanced, and I believe we'll release it as open source in when it's ready.
Awesome. So maybe because we are already talking for 20 minutes, so let's maybe focus on the 3.14 this time. So maybe Patrice, could you walk us through and tell us about the biggest changes in this version and what it brings to the table?
Yeah, the biggest highlight of 3.14 is the bulk API, another bulk API, this time for orders. And it allows orders to be created in bulk, but it actually enables more customization of how orders are created. So it's not limited to the usual order creation flow. You can, when importing orders using the bulk API, you can override all sorts of information like, line prices, taxes, discounts. So it doesn't depend on the business logic that lives within Sailor. You can overwrite all of this information. We believe this is crucial for operations such as importing, existing orders from another system during replatforming. But it can also be used to do real-time importing from another system like points of sale, where you may have, till systems doing all of the necessary calculations, and it's our job to accurately represent what's already printed on a receipt. So we don't get to recalculate taxes and say it's different than it was when to what the customers saw when they were paying. And it also offers a way to actually provide custom order numbers, so you can have those match what was printed on the receipt. So you can have those match what the customer saw in the previous system before you replatformed to Sailor. We think it was one of the most often requested feature when it came to to the onboarding tasks that people face when moving to Sailor. So that's one major feature that we've introduced. Do you want to talk more about this before we move?
I think we are good. I was just wanted to ask you because this version seems to be focused, maybe not mostly, but in a big way on orders. And there's another interesting new mutation called checkout create from order.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I've mentioned previously that you could create an order from checkout without payment in 3.13, and in 3.14 we created a reverse function for this, so you can now turn an already created order into a checkout session. And maybe Michał wants to speak to that.
Well, basically what you said. I can add a scenario to that. Imagine you have you go to your orders history as a customer and you want to see a button that says order this again. And now you can just click on it, and the past order will be converted to will be copied to a new checkout. So I guess this is the most important use case, but we'll also be using this internally.
Yes, and this paves the way to another API that we're currently working on, that's in RFC stage, that I've shared to one of the channels here in Discord, which is for payment automation APIs, which will probably bring another mutation to create orders from orders, to allow interactions such as automated subscriptions, where you may want to enable an order to be automatically replaced on, say, every first Monday of the month, or however you see it fit. Like, I invite you to also read the RFC. Michał shared the link here in chat, to be sure to click it and see if it's something you're interested in.
We will also post it on YouTube. So it's okay. So there's one more thing. I think there was some changes to how gift cards and product variants error handling is implemented in 3.14. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yes, you can now apply. I'm not sure if you mean the same thing, because we did some other updates to gift cards as well. But I think the most important one is that you can now apply gift cards without requiring an email from the user.
Yes, it's also a first in a series of improvements we're going to implement, which is removing friction points from the checkout handling process. So historically, Sailor would require a certain order of events to happen, like give us the user's email before you're allowed to add a voucher code, for example, or a gift card code. And those are not necessarily the expectations that users have from having interacted with other websites in the past. So we're working on removing those and making sure that you can complete the step in any order, so you can have your checkout process match your designs and not the opinion that the platform underneath has about what's the correct and incorrect order for those. And I can't speak about about the roadmap moving forward, but I can promise that we're going to remove more and more of those struggle points where something makes sense, but it's not it's not working the way you expected it to work.
I think that's a good summary of those two versions. And I was wondering maybe you could have a pause and maybe
there's one more. There's one more.
There's one more. Okay.
You missed one thing. Yes.
Okay.
So for the first time, we're introducing permissions that are not representing entire scopes, but individual shards of data. So 3.14 brought support for channel level permissions currently for orders. So you can define which groups of staff users can see orders from which channels, which is aimed to help some geographically distributed teams to help them scope the work better and to more closely match how they're actually operating in the fulfillment process.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So I wanted to ask, maybe someone from the audience would like to ask a question. We have not many people, but maybe someone would be willing to write. You have to raise a hand and okay, so I think just to finish with this first update, maybe we could talk about Auth SDK. This is how mainly your work, or it comes from your team. It was packaged in a new library. And could you tell us a little bit more about what's the use case and how people can use that in their own, maybe React or Next.js applications?
And how it interacts with the old SDK that was since deprecated. Why the new one, not the old one?
Well, first of all, it didn't come from me. It came from the team that I lead, but I actually didn't write. Most of the code was not written by me. So I just want to clear that up. Yeah, it's an excuse. No, I just, yeah, that doesn't matter. Let's get to I think the Patrick's question is an important one because we've deprecated the old Sailor SDK and we've built the new Sailor Authentication SDK. So why did we do that? We believed that the Sailor SDK was kind of pointless. It was tightly, it was tightly coupled to a single GraphQL client. That's the first thing. The second thing is that it handled it provided functions for some mutations, but not for most of them. So you would have to write some mutations in a different manner than the others. And lastly, it had a few bugs related to authentication, which were fixed before we officially deprecated it. But nevertheless, we started the work on the new authentication SDK first. And the new Auth SDK is completely agnostic of the framework. It's just written in vanilla, pure TypeScript, JavaScript. And it can be integrated with any framework, any library. It can be used with any GraphQL client. And we have optionally, we've built in a few adapters that allow you to integrate with Urquell, with Apollo client, and with obviously with Next.js and React.
And recently, we've also added OpenID Connect flow, right? Which is also a
you
step.
I can speak more about the old SDK because Michał said it was kind of pointless. I think it was also very over-engineered to allow some customization, which was still very limiting. And the feedback we got from our customers and early adopters was that it was actually harder to use the SDK than it was to use the raw GraphQL interface. So instead, we focused on solving the really common problems that everyone was facing, which is first and foremost authentication and authorization.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are still thinking how to improve it further. So if you have, I mean, the audience, if you have any suggestions, which adapters we could add or which frameworks we could support, we are open uh, to that, and we will be implementing depending on. We will try to prioritize that. I think the important thing here is also to maybe say that we want to simplify everything and to provide this like a easy to use, convenient, in a easy to use, convenient package. So you shouldn't like think about authentication or authorization. You just use Sailor SDK, and it's already most of the things are solved for you.
Yes, and
Yeah, it's
we are
sorry,
also
Michał?
open to contributions because I've posted a link on chat and it will also be below the video on YouTube. It's open source, so we are open to contributions. If you wanted to add and create a PR and create an adapter for, I don't know, Vue.js or Remix or I don't know, Astro or whatever is fancy and hyped right now, feel free to do it. We'll review and likely merge it to the package.
Yes, and in terms of features we want to support, we're now asking ourselves whether something belongs in an SDK that we have to take ownership of and make it easy to update. We think it's crucial for things like authorization and authentication, versus what belongs in a boilerplate code that you get with the starter kit. That you fork once and then you can keep for the rest of eternity while you own the application. And we found that most of the old SDK was actually boilerplate code that made it easy to build demos, but made it really hard to actually build something production ready. So maybe not hard, but inconvenient. So we're focusing on building better starter kits and providing less code as is the case, but really focused on what needs to be easy to upgrade.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that would be all from us. Do we have any questions maybe from the audience for this first event?
Again, we encourage you, those of you who are watching this on YouTube later on, to actually join the Discord channel, subscribe to the next event, and be able to ask questions.
Join us in person, ask us questions, and we'll be happy to help you. I think also if you have problems with code or with integration of like thinking maybe how to use Sailor, how to implement specific features, that would be a good opportunity to ask it directly to us, and we'll be very happy to help you. So if you have any problems, just show up and we will figure it out together.
Or if you have new ideas that you might want to discuss in a chat manner rather than GitHub issues, then there is also a channel on Discord for that. And we'll try to help you refine the idea if time allows. I'm basically online 24/7, so you're invited to join.
That's very important. That Discord is absolutely not limited to those live events. We do have channels where we're actually active in chat. We are surfacing more information about how we want to expand the project. So we will post some requests for comments about upcoming features where you can contribute or learn what we're building or when to expect it. We want to provide help with onboarding, learn where you struggle with Sailor and help you, overcome those friction points, but also improve the platform so others don't have to face the same issues when onboarding.
The same could be said about this event. The format, I mean, we are still figuring it out. This is the first edition, the first event, but if you would like to have it like managed differently, let us know and we'll be happy to adjust to your needs. Yeah, so I think we could maybe stop here. Thank you guys for being here with me. I mean, for being here together. Thank everyone watching this live and on YouTube later, and see you in 2 weeks.
There won't be a sponsor message, but do like and subscribe the video if you're watching it on YouTube, because we do have other videos that we post on YouTube that are not live events.
It's a good point, yeah.
Some of those I would also like to mention here, because Jakub is also working on recording some videos about the common task when it comes to onboarding to Sailor. He's recently shared 3 wonderful videos about the first steps with different parts of Sailor. He's working on more. So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you check out all of the other things we've posted there. If you're watching this here, you're amazing, but also check out our YouTube channel and see what's available there.
Yeah, there's a series of videos, as you said, Patrice, and I'll be also happy to have your criticism. We want to nail them to be very good, very helpful. So these are like these are first versions, and hopefully we will be improving them. So please watch them and tell me what you like and what you didn't like, and yeah.
Amazing. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for having me. And see you in 2 weeks during the next update.
Yeah. Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.